Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Tell me, boy.
I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, bitch, I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, bitch, I'm paranoid.
Testicles 1 2 Testicles. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Paranoid Radio Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your humble host, Trebles Garcia. I want to thank the Lord for allowing me to be here today, and I want to thank every single one of you for allowing me into your space. Do not forget to drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you check us out at paranoidradio.com and cop up some of the t-shirts. Make sure also, look at you getting the fucking Trump hat. You needed it. That was amazing. I went with the edgy look and people loved it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an amazing episode lined up for you guys. I'm sorry if I interrupted the intro, but this is the second episode lined up for today, and we're dropping bombs of knowledge every single fucking week. So make sure you stay tuned to Paranoid Radio Podcast and check out all the new collaborators that we have on our roster and the catalog of information. And deposit your comments. Make sure you drop some DMs and cough up some of the t-shirts for Paranoid Radio Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to jump in from deep into the pool and set the mood. I have the triumphant, the story-based thug, conspiracy theorist, Rogue One media mogul. Dude, he's amazing. Every single time he comes on the mic, he has something to say, something fruitful to bring to every single one of us. And now we're getting a reaction from his documentary. Please welcome JB from Rogue One Media and Renegade Family of Light. What's going on, bro?
What's up, my brother? Let's kick it.
Warrior
you know where they
3?
could find me? They could find me at Instagram at Renegade Family of Light, and check out parts 1 and 2 of the JB story. And now we're gonna parts 1, 2, and 3, and now we're gonna hit part 4. Which gets really gnarly.
So we got some feedback from Warrior 2. People were saying, I don't believe I can't wait for feedback for Warrior 3. It's going to drop this weekend. So if you guys are already listening to Warrior 4 today, make sure you go back and listen to Warrior 2, Warrior 3, and Warrior 1. So you got to listen to this consecutively because it's a real fucking Netflix novel movie. It's a thriller, bro. I'm telling you. I'm just waiting to see if there's any fucking serial, what's it called? Some true crime in this bitch. That'll be fucking crazy. Some horror, some fucking. If you bring some fucking death into this shit, bro, I'm going to be, what the fuck, dog?
You got some people. You got some people that don't even believe that this is true. They think it's been fabricated, which is amazing because it actually, there's times where I had to think about it. And I'm like, wow, did I just live that? Like that was like the edge of the world, the world kind of stuff. But every part of it is true. I keep it as real 100%. And then, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like whatever happened, it's like I'm not hiding anything of it, the stuff that I'm not, proud of. But here we go. So like at the end of 2, what was the end of 3 now? I already got busted by Glendale PD. So I got the feds, the DEA's got an indictment hanging over my head. They got 7 years to file that. So I got to sweat that out they could wait 7 years before they file charges against me. And now Glendale, they've got a case that they have 2 years. The state has 2 years to sit on it and file against me. So they could just have that thing hanging over my head too. Now I got to I've got to feed them enough, stuff to get myself out of that jam. And the feds don't want to work with me no more. And nobody on the streets wants to deal with me because I'm too hot. Joey's girl, she's not going to touch me. D-Rock, he's not touching me. So I'm basically rock bottom. I'm really at the bottom. I'm just trying to survive now. Right. And I got to start feeding, Glendale. So I started off once again just from the bottom, and I had to find a connect, and I had, I didn't even have enough. I had just enough money to buy like 1 small ounce that I could basically piece out back on the streets kind of thing, and kind of do it that way. But at the same time, I got to make sure I don't get jammed up again, because now I know Glendale PD is out there, and they got other people working, and they're building cases, and there's, I could just be walking into a zone where they could be following somebody, and then that person could be meeting up with me, and I can inadvertently just show up in their radar, and I'm supposed to be helping them. So it's their local
at this point, excuse me, at this point, You got the feds on you too, that you already broke treaty with them,
and
basically.
they don't like me. Yeah, they don't like
that
me.
shit.
Yeah,
This
like
is
they got a grind. They got an axe to grind against me because I burned them. So they trusted me. I burned them, and now they're like, oh, we're gonna hang this guy. So it was all hanging over my head, and I just had to survive. And the only thing I was thinking about was just paying the bills and keeping a roof over my head. So I started off with just small time stuff again, how to just like find a guy who had a guy and just start at the bottom. And I was dealing with just a couple of people because I couldn't afford to be spread out. So I had like a couple of close people that I was with prior to that would buy from me, and they would buy like an ounce a week or something. And I was just making enough to pay the bills. There was nothing, no gravy, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And I was low key. I was home at 9 p.m. I wasn't going out. It was all like just by the book, man.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, I'm feeding like half truths to Glendale, like whatever I could come up, whatever I could dig up. I would like if I could give them information on something or somebody that wasn't going to directly reflect back on me, I would just feed them. I'd be like, hey, I just heard that, you know, there's like a big order of like ecstasy or something that this guy's looking to sell, and they asked me if I wanted some. So I said, you know, let me talk to you and see if you guys want to pick this up. And so there was a time where like they were like, yeah, let's pick this up. So I was like, all right, tell the guy that I want like 2 boats of it. And they basically, I went to go do the deal, and they were watching the whole time. And then the guy never showed up. And so he never showed up. Now, the guy that was going to introduce me to the ecstasy dealer, he was somebody that I was serving up to them because he was just a street guy who had a bad reputation. So I was like, all right, I'll serve him up. His name was Byron. And then afterwards, I wound up becoming friendly with him, and then he wound up becoming one of my customers. Even though I kind of gave information on him. Now I was kind of shielding him because it was like the deal didn't go down, but they see that I'm trying. They see that I'm trying. I'm making an effort, and I'm constantly on the phone with Detective Lawrence. I'm like once a week, and then we would be on the phone for like an hour or more just talking. And she got to know me. I got to know her, and she liked me a lot. She thought I was like educated.
Oh shit!
Well, no, just like as a person, just as a person. And she was like, you know, like you're a good guy, and you know, you know, obviously you're not the same type of caliber as these people, and you know, I'm just doing my best. And I was being sincere in a way of just being myself, but at the same time, I'm just feeding whatever I could give them to kind of keep them happy. It was like half truths, but nothing ever materialized. So that went on.
If I may add real quick,
freaking years. Was that?
When you mentioned ecstasy, you hit home. I used to be a raver, bro. I used to fucking pick up on a couple boats here and there.
You know the term boat, right?
Yeah, I know boats. I know sleeves. I know. We used to use the word sleeves and pants to cut about 300, 200 pills, 100 pills, a jar. And
it wasn't my thing, but you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken it, but I wasn't a seller. So I was just like, this sounds something cool that I could give them. Because it wasn't in my niche, you know. It
went through a peak where everybody wanted a fucking pill. It went from singles to doubles to quads, and then you needed fucking different color base because each color base was each color base represents a whole different fucking base of drugs that was mixed with the ecstasy.
The MDMA, and then the heroin was mixed in some of them, and some of them gave you a bad trip or whatever. I mean, I was in the early days of ecstasy in the 90s. I dabbled, maybe a half a dozen times. I went to some raves and took it and had a great time on it. But other than that, it wasn't like a thing that I wasn't dealing with the raver kids and going to the raves and doing that. Was more the younger crowd kind of thing. Word. So so the boats thing, it was an opportunity to just get something going for them. I was just scrapping up stuff, and nothing ever materialized. It was like I would just give information like, hey, I heard about such, and I would let them follow me to a location and see, like I would go talk to somebody and let them follow and get a scope out on the deal, see who's over there. And then they could run with it on their own afterwards. But nothing that I ever was doing was ever resulting in arrests.
Because it was localized too. I mean, you were just in one city. You couldn't really go past the city because then it was Glendale PD.
Well, I mean, they could technically, if they wanted to, go to Hollywood or whatever, but it was they were Glendale. Obviously, yeah, they could definitely go to Hollywood or wherever they want. They're not going to go too far. But if there's a case and there's something that they're investigating, they have every right to investigate. And then they would pull in the local PD or the local detective in that area and do a joint thing, because that's when they were starting to get a little bit, because this is right now, it is after 9/11 now, and this is this is when they're starting to do a joint task force. That's why she was in touch with the feds before I was even in touch with them.
Holy fuck.
She already talked to them before I even ever did. I never really did even talk to them. They just gave the message to her to say, we're done with this guy. Tell you, do what you want. And we have an indictment that's coming down on him. I was like, wow. So now I'm building back up, but I'm just surviving, and I'm feeding them. And now this guy, Byron, he introduces me to a guy in Miami who is looking to buy like 2 pounds a week, which is like now more on the level that I was on prior to that. But he's in Miami. So he's not local. I don't got to drive. I'm going to meet him. I'm going to run around. And we wind up starting to do business where all he does is he sends the cash. I package the stuff and I ship it, and FedEx, he gets it, and that's it. We're done. He places the order the next week, and I'm making $3,000 per pound, and he's doing 2 pounds a week. So the money was outstanding, because you couldn't make that in California. But once it leaves California and it starts going state to state, the markup goes up and up and up and up. And by the time it gets to New York, it's like 3 times the price over there. So Miami, I was able to mark it up. Normally, if I was going to sell one of those pounds, I would probably make like maybe $800 on it. This one, I was making $3,000. So that's $6,000 a week. That's all I needed. I didn't need to deal with anybody else. So I was just dealing with this dude and maybe like 1 or 2 other people that I was really good friends with that I knew, and it was low key, and they needed me to supply them. So I would take care of them, and it was easy. So that was my whole thing. And then I would feed Glendale and Detective Lawrence whatever I could come up with, just to keep them happy. And so now I'm back. Like, I'm pretty much like back on top as far as I feel financially. And I'm just kind of like, nobody's bothering me. The feds haven't bothered me. Detective Lawrence, we're going on 2 years now. This is going on where I'm building myself up. And no charges are coming down on me. And then finally, she even just tells me, she's like, listen, we're not going to press charges on you. Even though nothing happened, like you didn't give us nothing, no arrest came of it. We're just, you tried, you've done quite a bit of effort, and, we like you, and we're just not going to press charges. So like, we're just going to drop it. And so it was like right before the 2-year mark. And I was like, cause I was sweating that out. And then I was like, wow, all right, cool. And then the feds, it was like they weren't coming at me, because I was like, technically, if you think about it, they raided me, but there was nothing. There was no dope in the house. They got nothing. There was all they got was
all the fear
cash. Yeah. And so I was like, do they really even have a case against me? It seems like maybe not, like maybe they were bluffing, maybe, because like, what did they have? They didn't really have much. So I was like, maybe that's just it's not enough for them to waste their time. So I'm kind of hoping that I'm going to get through all this. And so now this Glenn guy in Miami, he meets somebody in Miami who now wants to do big business, like 30 pounds a week. Like they're looking for a supplier that could supply them heavy like volume. Yeah. And he tells me about it. And I'm just like, wow. I was like, holy shit. I'm like doing the calculations. I'm like, I would be making $100,000 a week if I could supply these guys. And if it's the same thing as it is now, all I'm doing is getting it, packaging it, shipping it, getting it, packaging it, shipping it. What's the difference between 2 pounds and 30 pounds? It's still the same. That's still the same risk. And it's a lot safer than driving around, because you're just like, I'm not attached to that package. It's like I'm separated. They would have to get me in the act of actually having dope on me, like picking it up and driving it home, or packaging it up. That would be the only way. They couldn't get me just from if they intercepted the package. They wouldn't be able to because there's nothing tying me to it as far as the account or anything. So he's like, listen, these guys, they want to meet you first, because they want to get burned. They want to know who they're dealing with. They're going to drive out here. They're going to do the first order, in person. They're going to drive it back. And then after this trust is established, then we could start doing the mailing packages. I was like, all right, I understand. That's totally understandable. Like, they want to know who they're dealing with. And, they're going to come into my territory. So they're a little nervous about, showing up in my area where they're vulnerable. So they just want to make sure that everything's done right. They don't know who I am, and they don't want to get burned. So I'm like, all right, so let's set it up. I talked to my guy. So I have a new guy who basically I've been dealing with for the last almost 2 years now, who I've got a decent relationship with, and he could supply me. And he's a lower level. He's not like on the same level as the like D-Rock and Joe, but like, and they're not even connected. And I haven't talked to D-Rock in the whole time. Like we're separated. There's nothing connecting us. And so I told him, I'm like, listen, this is a big deal. This could be like a regular thing. And I was like, I don't have enough money to buy 30 pounds and to sell. I'm like, you're going to have to help me out on this and kind of front me half of it. You're going to have to front me half. I could come up with a half. Because most of these guys, especially with me, they wouldn't have the money to buy their own dope, and I would front them and I would mark up the price, and then they would have to pay me back, and they would always be short. So I had them on the hook because they always owed me money, but I was never like that. I was paid for my own shit. And if I couldn't pay for it, I didn't get it. But this time I was like, I need your help. So it was the first time I was ever asking. So he was like, yeah, you're solid, dude. And of course I'll work with you, but we got to make sure you're safe and all that shit. So now these guys are in town, and they now we're setting up the meet. And they say they wanted to meet on the docks. They're like, let's meet on the docks and we'll do it. And I'm just like, automatically, like my radar goes up, and I'm just like, the docks. I'm like, what do you mean the water dock? I'm like, you want me to go to the water docks where there's only one exit, where I'm behind me is the water and I only got one way out? I'm like, that's what fucking Miami Vice does. That's what the cops do. You go to the docks, and then they show up, and you got to hop on a boat and try to steal a boat and run away. Like, this ain't a fucking show.
Grand Theft Auto shit, bro.
Yeah, like what was it? Crockett and Tubbs or whatever they were, the cops in that show. So I'm like, no, we're not meeting at the docks. And immediately I'm like, what's going on with these guys? And I'm like, maybe they're just green. Maybe they're just like, they don't know the game well enough. I don't know. But I'm like, no, we'll meet in this parking lot at this shopping center. There's a Carl's Jr. there. We'll just meet first, say hello, nothing going down yet. And then we'll take it to like, a hotel or something where we both feel safe. So they agree. We go down there, and so now we're at the Carl's Jr. and we're online. It's packed, and my senses are up. Like I'm like, when you do this for a living, your radar is so sensitive that anything that's slightly off, you immediately pick up on it. Like even the tone of a voice on the phone. If there's a crack in his voice, it'll just send a signal to say, warning sign. What's up with that? That's unusual. That's different. Anything that's like throws, because for me anyway, that's the way it was.
Yeah, I could visualize this. I visualize
because you're constantly living in paranoia. Like you don't get no sleep. It's not a peaceful life. You're always worried about what's going to happen next. You're constantly trying to protect yourself. So you're just naturally paranoid and heightened. And plus, you're on the shit. So there's times where you can be over paranoid too.
I can contest to that. I could testify. I can. I drove.
Anybody
got a license until I was 30. I just barely got my license 3 years ago, bro. I'm not even fucking lying to you, dog.
And you driving around without one.
So when I'm driving, still to this fucking day with my license, I'm like this, boom, 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 boom. Drive 10 seconds, boom, boom. And I'm like, dude, hypersensitive all the time. I'm watching everything because I used to drive without a license. I used to have my beer on me. I used to have my weed. I used to have my fucking, my shit. And
without a license, you had all that? You did that without a license?
Come on, bro. I'm from the ghetto, bro. In LA.
But you drove the speed limit and you put your signals on because you didn't want to get pulled over stupid shit. So you were high alert on that. And
even now, that half of the time I'm fucking driving sober and I have my license, everything's good in the car. I'm boom, boom. I'm always like,
well, you don't want to take it, so it's a good way to be. Yeah. But you still have it in you. So
and I don't want to lose my license now. So it's like, if I never had it and I've just got it, now I don't want to lose it. So I was still even more hyped up.
Right. So normally I'm like, no matter what, when I walk out, I'm scoping everywhere I go, every store I'm in, I'm always scoping everything out. Now it's on even higher alert because I'm basically doing a big deal. And so now it's really on overdrive. And so there's this guy and this girl, this couple kind of behind us online. And I'm just like, guns talking and my eyes are just scoping everything. I'm looking at everything and everyone. And I just kind of get, zero in on these people behind us and just kind of didn't even think about it. But I was like, all right.
They were already with you?
No, they weren't with us. It was just me and Glenn. And so they were just strangers behind us online at the Carl's Jr. And so we get our food, but for some reason, I just checked them out. For some reason, I just kind of locked in on them. So then we go to sit down, eat the burgers, whatever. We got a good view of the window of the parking lot, and we're talking about things. And then next thing you know, like we're talking, and that guy that was behind us, he walks by the table to go get like some ketchup, and like in the back of his pants, his shirt was kind of risen up a little bit, and I could see a pair of handcuffs and a badge in the back of his pants, like right behind his pants, like right on like the buckle thing behind him. And but his shirt was risen up just a little bit where the cuffs and the badge was peeking out. And I'm looking at that and I'm just like, holy shit. I'm like, Glenn, we're being set up. I'm like, this is a fucking setup, man. I'm like, get rid of these fucking people. I'm not doing shit. Go home, lose them. Nothing's happening. It's off. These are cops. We're fucking being set up. He's like, really? He's like, you really think so? I'm like, that's a fucking cop right there. He's been watching us. He's tailing us. I'm like, he's fucking cop. He's got cuffs in the back and a badge. I'm like, it's over, dude. We're being set up. So he's like, all right, I leave. I'm like, holy shit, I dodged a bullet. I'm fucking exhausted from fucking all the energy. I go to sleep. The next day, he calls me and he's like, bro, he's like, are you sure you're not being paranoid? He's like, this is this could be a good deal. These guys are really scared. They don't want to get burned. Like now they're spooked. And they drove all the way down here. And this could be a mistake. Like, why don't we do this? Why don't we just meet, talk, and not do anything? Nobody brings any money, no dope, no nothing. We'll meet, just talk, feel each other out. And then afterwards, if you feel like, you feel like they're cops, or if you feel weird about it, then by all means, but at least let's not make the mistake of like overreacting and making a mistake and losing out on a great deal. So immediately the dollar signs are flashing in my head again. And I was just like, all right, I'll meet you. I'll talk to you. I'm not doing anything. And that's the end of it. And so he's like, we'll meet at the transit station in downtown LA, like the bus station. So I get down there and I'm scoping the place out. And it's, I swear to God, I'm looking around and I can immediately spot like the fucking undercover pretending like he's reading the newspaper, the fucking, he's just sitting there with the paper up. And I'm like, that's a fucking cop right there. And I'm just like, and then over there, that fucking guy, he's pretending like he's fucking doing this. He's watching us. So I got him all scoped out. And then the guy shows up and he looks just like a cop. Like he radiates cop, like undercover. Bad actors, dude, I swear to God. so bad. Like, and then the lingo and the language he's using, it's so textbook street where it's just so obvious, he's trying to talk like he's on the streets, but it's like it's all textbook stuff that they learned in the academy.
You can tell these guys,
they give themselves away.
Even at that, even when you start getting, for example, when you get to a higher position, selling dope or anything, you stop talking like that, bro.
Exactly. You don't talk ghetto, like that.
You don't do that, or you're being more.
And that's why they rely on people like that they bust in order to do the work for them, because nobody's going to believe them. Nobody's going to. So they need real street people that are in the life in order to get the job done. And so that's why they get the informants and all that. And and knock off their cases. So I mean, it's a racket that they put together, and it works. It's effective. So so now he's talking about not wanting to get burned and like this, that, and then I'm just like, for some reason, like, I'm just talking with him and I'm just bullshitting with him. Like, he's like, well, maybe we'll just do one. If we could just do one before we go, so we don't waste the trip. We don't have to do a big one, just to taste the stuff and just to test it out. I'm like, listen, the stuff speaks for itself. It's a moneymaker. Everybody knows it. My reputation is gold. Like, I don't burn people. I don't fucking, I don't do this. You ask anybody around, I'm not going to burn you. So if you're scared, this, that, or the other, it's just, like, I understand, but that's going to happen. And I'm getting spooked or whatever. And he's like, all right, so let's just do one. I'm like, all right, let me see what I could do, and I'll see what I can put together, and I'll let you know in a little bit. I'll give me like an hour. He's like, all right. So then we walk away, and I tell Glenn, I'm like, Glenn, get rid of these fucking people. They're cops. I'm not doing anything. I'm just bullshitting the guy. It's just
I feel like Glenn was in it. I feel like Glenn was with him.
Bingo.
I feel like he was there.
Bingo.
Oh my God.
Bingo. Glenn.
I saw this coming.
Glenn got busted in Miami, and he had prior records, and he was looking at 20 to life. And so he flipped on me, and he needed to get a big case in order for his case to be fucking reduced significantly. So this 30-pound order was a huge one. And all these feds he brought with them, like, they brought a whole team of feds from Miami to LA to fucking bust me, and fucking surrounding the place, and fucking everything was set for me to fucking step right into this trap and fucking just go down hard. And I'm like, get rid of him. It's over. I'm like, Glenn, I'm looking out for you. I'm like, fucking. So now his case is going up in smoke and he needs me to do this deal. So he's like, you really? He's like, you think so? But he's smart enough not to fucking push it too hard. Cause I'm like,
Because then, bing.
Yeah, they're fucking cops, bro. And if you pushing it, then it means, you're with them.
Then you're a cop. Yeah.
But I didn't think he was. I thought he was because he wasn't the smartest of the guys. So I just figured like he was getting set up too. And I was protecting him. I'm like, bro, they're setting you up. I'm like,
especially because this
do
is the
any
guy
business with them.
This is the guy that's gonna fucking give you the front to be able to fucking help these other guys out. Was it him or was the other dude that was gonna help you? Because you said you needed somebody to give you a front.
Glenn is the guy who's buying from me.
Oh,
he's the guy from Miami. So Glenn he's been the guy who was buying 2 pounds a week from me for like a year. So we were making great money together. He got busted. So now he brings all these feds with him telling me that they want to do a big deal. They're going to drive down, do the pack deal first, then drive back, and it's going to be a weekly thing. So I'm thinking, all right, this is a big deal and it could be good. So he brought them all down. And then I told my guy, his name was Rascal. I was like, this is the deal. Cause I've been buying from him for a while. I was like, you might need to, front me half the thing. So he wasn't even remotely there. I'm just doing my thing. He's just going to supply me. It's on standby. The product is on standby, ready to go. As soon as I make the call, he sends his guy, I meet with his guy. And then we give, if the deal was going to go down. So it was all on standby. So like their cash was on standby and my dope was on standby. They just wanted to meet each other if it was a real deal. But obviously I sniffed it out and then I was like, get rid of him. So he leaves and I don't even deal with Glenn anymore after that. But I check in with him and I'm like, you got rid of these guys, right? So he's like, yeah, I got rid of them. And so now 4 months later, my fucking door comes fucking down with the SWAT team and fucking they come barreling through. And I'm used to this now. It's 6 a.m. It's like, and I got the dogs too. I'm like, don't shoot my dogs. Now they arrested me and I'm charged with a conspiracy case. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it turns out that according to the law of conspiracy, if two or more people discuss committing a crime, even if they don't commit that crime, they could still be charged as if they committed that crime. Isn't that crazy? Like, so in other words, say me and you were just talking about robbing a bank. And we're talking about like, we're going to rob this bank and I got the blueprints for the safe. And I know the manager, the security guard, he gets on at 5:00 PM. The new guy comes on at 6, but we're talking about all this and the conversation's being recorded, but we don't go through with the bank robbery. I just talk about it. We don't even do nothing ever. They could take that conversation and fucking charge me as if I robbed the bank.
Get out, dude. No way, dog.
Dude, it's called conspiracy. Look it up. That's how they were able to get the mob. They could never get the mob red-handed. The mob was always protected and shielded. So the only way they could get the mob was through conspiracy by getting them on wiretaps to fucking talk about the crime, whether they committed it or not. If they talked about it, they could convict them. And I was like, I thought I was being smart.
I thought there was I think now there's a law. I'm not sure if they still, fuck, I got to look it up, bro. But there's a law where if you're not told, you're being
the second party. If there's only 2 people, here's the thing. If there's 2 or more people, there's only one other person that needs to know. So Glenn and the cop were the 2 people that knew. I was the guy who didn't know. So that's where it could fly. 2 people, as long as one other person is aware, then if it's a one-on-one conversation, then they got to know. But as long as there's another third party involved, then they get by that loophole. Yeah. So this is how they were taking down mob guys left and right, because it was all the racketeering stuff. They invented this conspiracy fucking thing that's how they were going to bust them, because they couldn't get these guys. And I had no idea that this existed or this was a thing. So I'm thinking I'm just bullshitting the guy. I'm playing it cool. I'm like, yeah, we're going to hook you up. Don't worry about it. We're going to get that pound for you. And, my product's the best and my reputation is this, and we could do that and we could do this. And I'm like, no, I'm never doing nothing with this guy. So I leave and I'm like, yeah, I was just bullshitting him. Turns out he was wearing a wire, obviously. And that conversation was that was enough to fucking charge me and convict me if I'm convicted. It took
4 months to build that shit.
I was blown away because I was just thinking that I dodged a bullet. Like I played it smart. Like they were going to get me. They brought all these people. And that cop who was actually with the handcuffs in the Carl's Jr., he got his ass reamed the fuck out because he blew it. Because of him, I spotted what they were up to. And because of his shirt, he fucking blew the whole case out, and they had to go home empty-handed, and he got his ass chewed out because I spotted his tell. So he shows up with the fucking feds that bust me, and he's like, "You remember me?" He's like, "You remember me?" He's like, "You made me that night." I'm like, "Yeah, I remember you." He's like, "Man, I caught hell for that." He's like, "Fucking, I caught hell for that." He's like, "You spotted me." He's like, "The whole case got blown because of that, but here we are." So they barged in my place. They don't find any dope. There is dope. They don't find it. There's some cash. And they found a FedEx slip, like a FedEx slip with the address that Glenn used to get the packages from. That was incriminating. That FedEx slip, they got it in one of my folders. They got it in one of my folders. You know, I'm sure they intercepted a couple of packages that I sent over there. I'm sure they did. So now I'm handcuffed, dude. It's like, and next thing you know, they call the dogs from Glendale PD. They ask Glendale PD if they can bring the dogs to sniff the house to find the dope. And so the Glendale PD says, all right, they show up. It's Detective Kim Lawrence in the Glendale PD. And she's looking at me like,
you love her.
JB.
Look at her go, man.
She's like, JB, what happened? And she was so disappointed. I never felt so low in my life. I felt like the lowest guy on planet Earth because I literally she knew I was bullshitting her for the last 2 years, like, oh, pretty much. And she's like, well, you got a new BMW. She's like, you must be doing pretty well for yourself. You got a nice pad over here. And it was just, you know, I was like, the car's not mine. It's not in my name. It wasn't, but it was mine, but it wasn't in my name. And I was so embarrassed and I was so disappointed in myself because she believed in me and we had a relationship, and she didn't press charges against me. And she gave me all the, you know, like everything that I could ask for and was good to me. And I just turned around and made her look like a fool. And I was just so ashamed that I was at that moment that I was so ashamed of myself that I was in the back of the squad car with the handcuffs on, driven away.
Broken-hearted, broken.
I felt terrible, man. Oh, shit. I felt terrible. So now they take me away. Visualize
this shit, bro.
Now I'm getting extradited to Miami. So now I got a case in Miami. There's a case fucking in Miami. I still got the DEA feds over my head. I'm sitting in a freaking detention center for like a month, cleaning out, getting dry, and finally get a lawyer. Whatever money I had left went to the lawyer. The lawyer gets me out on bond. And then I get back home. I'm on bond. And I call Kim Lawrence up. And I'm like, Kim, I need your help. I'm like, I got nothing. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, but you got to help me. I need to work off this case. Help me get some cases and work this off. Like I promise, like I will do whatever I can to prove it to you and make it up to you. Dude, she fucking said, okay, I'll work with you one more time. And dude, she took me on to work with her to get cases. And that was it. Like I went clean after that. Like I got home.
You dirty dog. You're a dirty
I had to try. I didn't think she would take it, but I get home. The first thing I do after a month is I go right up to my spot. I pull out the stash. I start, smashing it up. And I was just about to freaking do it. And I look and I'm like, I see my reflection in the mirror. And I'm like, if I do this, it's over. I'm like, I'm out on bail. I'm on house arrest. They're going to test me weekly. I'm going to blow it. They're going to pull me back in. And if I piss dirty, everything's up in smoke. I have no shot. My life's over. If I do this right now, because I'm 30 days clean from being away, I'm like, you can't do this. So I just came to that decision and I just fucking threw it all in the garbage. And that was it. I never did it again after that. And then I was on the straight and narrow and really working to help myself. Go ahead.
This is a perfect fucking moment. This is gonna be a fifth installment of this. I feel. And you know what's funny?
It gets.
I feel like you don't have to expose it, but you and her had a thing.
Not at all.
This is perfect love. This is
not
love.
Not at all. It was just
it's a perfect twist.
She was older. She was older than me. She was a really good person. Like I really, really respected her and liked her and admired her and appreciated what she had done for me. And the fact that she believed in me. And so I really wanted to make it up and do the right thing. So I basically, that was it. I was no longer using. So I was not using and I was not selling. I was literally just basically on house arrest, living on whatever scraps I had left, and waiting to go to my case, deal with my case in Miami. But I was going to do whatever I could to try to show the whatever, because the Miami guys didn't want to work with me. They didn't offer me anything. But if I was able to work something off with Glendale, it would help. It would go towards my case, because she even made a phone call for me to the DA over in Miami and said, we're going to take him on. He's going to work with us. And whatever he does, we want to submit it as credit for his case for that. Because I didn't even have a case with Glendale anymore. Didn't even have a case with them. And she was going to work with me after I burned her. And so they agreed. The Miami agreed that if anything I did with Glendale, they would use it as a credit towards.
She saw the potential. She saw the potential. This guy has been, he dodged a couple bullets already.
Like an angel she was. Because I did not deserve it. And so where are we? We're at the end of this. This is
we're at the end of it.
5. Yep. All right. Yeah. There's more action coming. There's more action coming. Let's just put it this way. I eventually go away.
Nah, dude. Okay, well,
eventually I go away. So
you stop, and you're here today because
Well, I don't go away forever. I don't go away forever. Like, it wasn't a life thing, but it did happen. So part 5.
Life's JB. Life took JB for a fucking ride.
I don't blame anybody if they don't believe this, because I wouldn't believe it.
Dog, it's intense. It's intense. You know what, bro? I'm gonna tell you something. The manager, I'm not gonna expose his name, but the manager of the place where I work at today, white dude, tall dude, he loves a Harley Davidson. He's a solo driver on. He's one of those biker dudes. I could assume he's affiliated, but I was like, there's nothing concrete. He's very chill. Very humble white dude, man. He's like, he's older. He's about 60 years old, and he's tall, big, heavy set dude. He did 8 years in the pen for murdering people, and you'll be surprised, bro. The people only 8 years, and but I mean now he counsels people. He's not. He's never been a villain, but now he counsels people in jail. He's a Christian, and he
a lot of gangbangers do the same thing.
And now
they realized what it was like. And they're trying to save other kids from falling down the same path.
Sometimes
you're being used as a tool, as an instrument. You got to go through the pain in order to help people down the road, and that's how you kind of make up for your past and all that stuff. So good people do bad things, and everybody goes through. Like, we all have dark sides, and we all have our things, our demons that we fight. And it doesn't mean that that's who we are. Like, there's good people. It's just a matter of, do you want to change? Do you want to make a difference? And do you want to keep doing that? If you keep doing that, then you're not willing to change. So that's what I was willing to do. But then I was it. Once I stopped that one time, it was over. I won that battle of like the drug battle. I just stopped. I didn't even go to rehab or anything. I just stopped.
Make sure you follow him at Renegade Family of Light. This is Warrior 4. Ladies and gentlemen, the 5th installment of this show is going to be popping up in the next 2 weeks. Make sure you check them out.
It's a season.
Yeah, it's a season, bro. Renegade Family of Light. Make sure you check them out at Paranoid Radio Podcast and drop a 5-star review for podcast that allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Peace out, JB. Thank you.
Peace.
Paranoid Radio.